ProtaStructure versus Tekla Structural Designer reinforce concrete beams and columns details. In this video, you will learn a lot of settings and knowledge on how to compare these two structural software beams and columns details, and you will be able to choose which is fast and better. Stay connected as we get started. So for us to carry out this comparison between the beam details and column in Prota and Tekla Structural Designer, we need to follow a proper step so we can achieve an effective result successfully. The first step we are going to be following is checking the model, and as well as the modeling method of the model is very important. So let's dive into Prota to check that. Here in ProtaStructure, you can see we have the model here, and then we have 2, 3, and 4 floors right here. So over here in the structural tree, we have up to ST4 right there. So what is the modeling method of this model? The modeling method, we have to get that under stories, and then right click on this edit provisions. And then you see over here, you have similar stories, 2, 3, 1, 3, and 2, 1. So we use similar story as the modeling method successfully. So we will navigate to TEKLA Designer right away so we can be able to also check all of this. And then do not forget that this model has been loaded successfully. As you can see, this is how ProtaStructure loads its beams successfully, as you can see from here. So let's navigate to TEKLA Designer. So over here we have TEKLA Designer right here. Is well loaded. You can see the loads right here. So the modeling method is also the same. If I come to these provisions where I have this construction level, all right, I click right there. You see I have the provisions where you need to make the story similar from the source story. See, here is unique, and then you see this is story 1, and then story 2 is having the same number as story 1, which is unique story. Okay, so this is a similar story also model in Tekla Structural Designer. So we have done with checking the model as well as the modeling method successfully. We will now have to proceed into checking the design statute of the structural element. The design statute of the structural element. Right now, here is TSD. I will have to close this right away, and then for the structural statute, design statute, we will have to navigate to this provision. You see here. So review view, click right there. So you can see we have 216 members passed. All the columns and the beams as per design as they have shown green. So we have confirmed that in Tekla Structural Designer. We will navigate to the ProtaStructure. For ProtaStructure, we need to also confirm that. For us to do that, we need to come over to where we have this display provisions, and then you see this visual interrogation. If you click right there, and then over here, if you scroll down right here, you see this design statute provisions right here, and then after which you just have to click on the OK option. So you can see we have all our beams and columns designed successfully, although we're having one column failed, this one. Okay, so we will correct that along the line. Okay, so we are done with this check. So what we need to do now is we get back to get rid of this successfully. You come over to the display and then click on the visual interrogations, and then scroll up and choose none. Click on the OK options. All right, so having done this, now we want to have to proceed to the checking of the detailing, like the grouping aspect of the beam and as well as the column in ProtaStructure. All right, so let's dive into that. All right, so here is ProtaStructure, and then we want to be confirming that the beams are grouped successfully. So you navigate to ST1, double click right here, select on the beam, right click, and then click on this ROC beams design options. So now you have all of the beams right here. Okay, we have all of the beams right here. All right, so we carry out the grouping. If you want to group the beams, what you do, you come to these provisions where you have grouping options, and then you navigate to automatic grouping. And over here, we use the group beams axis within floors. So this has been grouped successfully. That is why you are seeing it with this with these symbols. Okay, it means they are being grouped. Okay, so after grouping, you have to carry out the beam design. So you click in that provision, you select all bar, and then click on calculate. So this will calculate all of the beams and then ensure that all the beams are being designed successfully. So you just have to give it some seconds to carry out the beams design. All right, so it is in progress. All right, so we give it some time. The design is almost done right away. All right, so the design is completed successfully. Okay, click on the close option. So you see all of the beams has been designed successfully. All right, and this is group. All right, so we want to confirm this also in Tekla Structural Designer. I will have to close these provisions, and then we will navigate to Tekla Structural Designer. So I will navigate right there here in Tekla Structural Designer. Let us confirm the grouping. Okay, let's get back to Prota. So you know, in Prota, once you come to columns, let's see if there's a provision to group column. So we minimize this, click on the column, right click, and then use this option for all the columns successfully. All right, I will expand this. This is the column that is failing. You can always come to interactive design, all right, to check why it is failing. So we have this, click on the interactive design right here. See, we have the still ratio limit exceeded. Click on the OK option, so you can increase this size of this to 250 by 250 right here. Okay, click on the update options and then interactive design. So this has past design right away. Click on OK and OK again. All right, so having done that, now we want to check. You see, in this provision there is no tab for grouping in column when it comes to ProtaStructure. No provision for grouping columns. You can see over here. So now we have confirmed this. We will now have to proceed to Tekla Structural Designer. So we want to be grouping the beams and the columns in Tekla Structural Designer. Let's see if the provisions are there. All right, so now we will navigate to where we have a design right here, and then come to settings. So in the setting dialog, you have to come all the way to design groups. Click right here. So in the design group, you can see we are able to check this provision that said concrete beams. You can see member to design using group. All right, so we see concrete beams, we see concrete columns. These two has been checked. Simply means we have grouped concrete beams and concrete columns successfully. All right, if you come down, you see timber beams, timber columns, and bridges has also been grouped successfully, and all these other members can be groups as well in Tekla Structural Designer. All right, so you can now see that you can group column in Tekla Structural Designer, but you cannot group column in ProtaStructure. All right, so click on the OK options right here. So having confirmed the grouping, now the next thing we'll have to go into the detailed drawings. All right, so for the detailed drawings, we will start that with Tekla Structural Designer right here. Okay, so what we do, we need to navigate to where we have draw options. You see these draw options. All right, so once you get here, you have to actually come to settings. You see this provision, you click for settings. So here is where you set your drawings in terms of the sections and the rest of that. You set it in these provisions. Click on the OK. All right, so we go over to where we have drawing management. Click in that provision. So for instance, we want to be creating the beams. Okay, at first, so I will select in this provision and select beams right here. Once I select beam right here, you see I have one existing here. I can get rid of that by resetting all. I can click on remove as well to get rid of it. Okay, then click on add to add a new one, and over here I have a name, building design concrete beams. So here I can add 4 right here. Then click on the content. All right, so in the content you see that you can be able to group by grouping, and then you can see by leveling. Okay, by level. So meaning you can produce the drawing by grouping, you can also produce the drawing by level. All right, so we use by grouping, okay, because we want to ease our editing. At least we need to have some few beams. All right, but if you group by leveling, it simply means it's going to give you all the beams in the level successfully. So at first, click on the concrete cast in place beams, drag it to this provision just like this. Now if you scroll down right here, you will see that you have some options right there that said on group beams. Okay, so if you neglect and then minimize all of this, minimize all of this, just like this. I want to show you something. You see, in this provision, you see ungrouped. So once you get to this point, select it and pull it to this side. All right, just select it like this, pull it here. All right, so these are the group beams. These ones are ungrouped, you can see. All right, so this is the one we are actually producing the details, all right, in the Tekla Structural Designer. Okay, so click on the OK options, and then this will take you here. Now come over to where you have view drawings, these options. Okay, so I will click on this view drawings, and then over here I just click on the OK options, and this will automatically launch AutoCAD and then produce the detailed drawings of the beams with sections in AutoCAD successfully. So let's wait for that to be done shortly. All right, so this is actually loading right away. All right, here we go. So I'll click on no options right here. Here is the beams produced successfully, and these are the group beams. All right, this consists of all the beams. This consists of all the beams in the structure being grouped successfully. How do you know? If you zoom closely right here, you can see CRB2, D3 is 7 number. You can see this beam is 7 of it. All right, being grouped right here. Then if you come down to this is 6 number. This beam is 6 number, and the rest of all of this one, this is 4, and so on and so forth. All right, so these are the roofed beams. All right, you can see right here, and the sections you see, they are just single sections. All right, so this is giving us just a single section. It got a span section right here, you can see successfully, and here is the bar bending schedule for the beams successfully. All right, so this is how the beams is produced successfully using Tekla Structural Designer. You can see it here. So observe it very well so that you can come up with your result, as we will produce also group beam in ProtaStructure successfully. All right, so let's get back. We want to produce columns as well in Tekla Structural Designer. I will minimize this. So here we go. If you come over to the drawings variants right here, you can be able to select concrete columns details right here. You can remove the existing right here, click on remove, and then click on add right there. Over here you can say building design concrete columns detail 5. All right, and then you come to the content provisions. Now in this content provisions, we are going to be going by grouping. Okay, you can see by group. So the only option here is by group for the column. All right, so now we have to select on this and pull it over here, and then if you scroll down, you notice you won't see anything like on group. So this consists of all the columns in this structure. So the program is going to group this into few columns successfully. All right, so now after which we click on this OK option. So and then we proceed to the view drawings options right here. So click on that, and then over here you can see the scale right here. We go by that scale and then use automatic file name right here, and this is the directory. Click on the OK option. So this will also be produced in AutoCAD just like this. You can see here is the reinforced concrete column. So on all the columns in the structure, we are having just 1, 2, 3, 4 columns out of all the columns in the structure, and then Tekla Structural Designer have grouped this and as well to give you a section successfully and the details of the sections, as you can see what Tekla Structural Designer has given to you. And the Tekla Structural Designer have also produced these columns from the foundation. So you can see this is the foundation reinforcement all the way to the topmost stories. All right, so because this story and this story, there is a difference of 1 story. That is why this is grouped separately. You can see right here. If you scroll down here, you see you have 12 of this column. C2, D2, 12. So 12 of this column, you can see attached member may varies. All right, so you can see it over here. So Tekla Structural Designer have actually grouped this for us, and this is the column that we have. So with this, you see, you don't have much work to do. What do you have to do here? There is no much work. All right, so we are done with actually creating our beam, and as well as the beams right here, and as well as the columns for this model successfully using Tekla Structural Designer. You can see the way they looks. You can't actually be able to tell in the description whether you can't have any other things to edit on this. I believe this is just quite okay. You wouldn't need to edit anything much because everything is actually showing very, very well right here. Okay, we want to get to ProtaStructure, so we will actually be able to also produce the column detail as well as the beam detail, and then you can compare with what you are actually seeing in Tekla Structural Designer successfully. All right, so I will have to minimize this, and then I will close this provisions. We are done with Tekla Structural Designer, and then we'll navigate to Prota. All right, so here is Prota. Everything is good. When we proceed, we save this model first, okay, because we just run analysis, and then we navigate to where we have the drawings and report. Click on this Prota detail. So once you click on the Prota detail, you know, in ProtaStructure, you cannot produce only beams drawing. Okay, you must produce all the drawings in Prota detail, except you want to actually start it by creating a single drawings per time. Okay, that is when you can be able to produce only beams or only columns. I will also take you there and show you what I'm trying to explain. All right, so over here we go. So now if you start by creating a new drawings, you will notice that you can be able to now create these beams one by one, or you create it in groups successfully according to the stories as well as the column. But if you start by this first option, automatic generate detail, okay, you will be able to create all the detail, including the foundations, all right, at once successfully. Okay, so now we want to start by this auto generate detail. So you click on that options. So once you click on these options, you have this draw detail dialog. In the draw detail dialog, we have the scale right here. We wouldn't have anything much to set here. Just click on the draw options. So in the draw option, I want to be expanding this window and click in the space. So Prota detail will draw all of the detail drawings for that model successfully. So the detailed drawings is in progress. You can see right here. Let's give it some time to finish drawing all the foundations, the beams, and as well as the columns detailed drawing successfully. So we look at it, and then you'll be able to check the differences, all right, between that of the Tekla Designer. Over here we go, you can see we have first, let's look at the beams. So we have a few beams, you can see, because it is a similar story we use in our modeling. You can see that we have some similar beams right here. Okay, let me show you so you can see how many beams you have at the first floor. All right, so if you come over to where you have story beams elevations, you expand this, you can see this is ST1, which is story 1 beam. And then before we proceed, I want to let you know there is an ongoing masterclass on this software program. If you have the interest to actually join our masterclass, you can reach us through the link in the description of this video. You just see our WhatsApp number as well as our Telegram page. You can drop a message of your concern on the masterclass on Tekla Structural Designer as well as ProtaStructure and every other software that we used on this channel successfully. You are very welcome. So let's proceed. So you can also produce this beam story by story. You select on this, right click, and then over here you can click on draw beam elevations. This one we draw all the beams in this particular story. You know, the beams are grouped actually. Okay, so I'll click in that options. Then over here you can see too many beams here, but once you click on draw right here and then you pick in the space, you will see the numbers of beams that will be drawn successfully. You can see out of all the beams that we have right there, if I minimize, I try to minimize this, and then you see on the story 1 now we have more than 2 beams, but you can see all these 2 beams have been grouped into only 2. All of these plenty of beams have been grouped into only 2 beams right here, as you can see. I will expand this from here so you see it very well. Okay, that is why you should use that options to do your modeling successfully. So over here you see the section of the beam. This is the beam for the story 1, and then you can see there are similar beams also. Okay, so this have to replicate all other beams successfully at that story. So if you come to story 2 as well, you can right click and create the beams detailed drawings right here. So over here you can see we have only just 2 beams. Over here you have the bar bending schedule as well, you see. Okay, so here we go for the third story. You can also be able to create it one by one. Join our masterclass and then you will enjoy most of these programs and how to use them effectively. Here is the story 3 beam details. And then for the last story beam details, if you click in these provisions, you can also be able to create that successfully. All right, so here we go. You see, these are the beams at the last floor, which is the ST4 right here. You can see the few beams that we created. So we are able to create these few beams because we actually grouped the beams, all right, which have shown us. All right, so when you group your beam will be few, just like this, and the details are very clean and okay. So this is the beam detail grouped successfully in ProtaStructure. I've shown you the one in Tekla Structural Designer. Okay, so now let's look at the columns. Now in Prota, you see the columns are being created story by stories. All right, but Tekla Structural Designer creates columns that cut across all the stories from the foundations to the topmost story successfully. But in ProtaStructure, these columns are being created separately. So there is no provision to group in ProtaStructure, to group column in ProtaStructure. But in Tekla Structural Designer, you can be able to group their columns and then makes the editing very easy. All right, in terms of columns successfully. But if you want to produce a column section that actually pass through all the floors, like from the foundations to the topmost story, you can still do it. All right, so I want to show you how to do that. If you come to where you have this columns elevation, expand this, and then you see these provisions where you have ST1, expand it as well. So select this first column 1C1, right click, and then in this provision you can see an option to draw columns elevation through stories. You see this option. So this option is going to draw the column elevations from the foundation to the roof level successfully. So if I click on this now, you can see I can be able to select the numbers of story I wish to draw the columns through successfully. So if I click OK, right here you can see I click right in these provisions. You see, and I have the column drawn from the foundations all the way to the topmost story successfully. So this is how you can draw your column sections, all right, column detail from foundations to the topmost story using ProtaStructure. And this is not done automatically, unlike okay, this is ProtaStructure successfully. This is not done automatically, actually, unlike Tekla Structural Designer. All right, so Tekla Structural Designer done this automatically, okay, while Prota, you have to do it manually, and you are not too sure. You have to take time to look through the columns to be able to merge it together and see how you produce the detailed presentable drawings. All right, but in Tekla Structural Designer, you don't have to do all of that. Okay, the program will do that for you automatically, and you have just a few column details. So to actually wrap up this, let us look at the detail we had in ProtaStructure, and as well as the detail we have in Tekla Structural Designer. All right, so here is here is ProtaStructure, and then you can see our beam detail right here, and as well as our column detail. So let's get to Tekla Structural Designer result, which is in AutoCAD. So here in AutoCAD, you can see here are the details of all the columns that we have in that model. Okay, from Tekla Structural Designer, you can see how neat and dimensioned properly that is being done successfully. So with this, you can use to make your comparison in the comment section, which of it is best good in detail. All right, and then better for a ease of editing. Okay, you can actually get the result explained, and then you drop it in the comment sections right below. And do not forget to like and subscribe. Here is the beams. All right, so this is the beam we have. We produce, yes, these are the group beams. So we have also the first floor. The first two beams is actually for the first floor. All right, then the next two beam is actually for the second floor. Okay, and then this other one is actually for the third floor. All right, sorry, for the third floor, yes. And then this is for the fourth floor. Okay, this one is for the fourth floor. So you can see the beams detailing are just almost the same. They are almost the same with ProtaStructure. All right, so you can see what we have in ProtaStructure, in Tekla Structural Designer rather, right here, and then in ProtaStructure, this is what we have. All right, so for the beams, they are almost the same. All right, but for the columns, I want to say that this is ProtaStructure columns. All right, so if you also look at the Tekla Structural Designer columns, you can see the difference. That with this, you don't need to do any work. You don't need to edit anything. Everything is quite very visible and then look presentable already. Okay, so at this point, you can see the differences in the reinforced concrete beam as well as reinforced concrete columns successfully between Tekla Structural Designer and ProtaStructure. Okay, drop your results and your observation in the comment section. And don't forget to like. Do not also forget to subscribe to our channel of reason as we keep bringing to you this kind of useful content. Do not forget to be part of our membership. Click on the join button on our channel so you can be able to have access to our important content successfully. Have a great day as we stop here. Bye for now.